In 2022, two people were murdered in Liverpool, except the first wasn't the target, and the second was a 9-year-old girl sleeping in her home. Two different nights, two different homes. But both deaths left a city questioning how justice could ever feel complete. It sounds like the plot of a grim crime drama. Except this time, it was all real. Real streets, real families, and the kind of violence that doesn't fade when the headlines move on. This is not a story about random violence. It's a story about chaos, and how one city's fight against it revealed something deeper. That in modern Britain, no one is too innocent to become collateral damage. Ashley Dale was 28 years old. She worked for the local council, loved her job, and was known for her laughter. Her friends called her the girl who could calm a storm. But on the night of August 21st, 2022, her home in Old Swan became the center of one. At 12:30 a.m., a gunman kicked down her door and opened fire. Ashley, unarmed, innocent, alone, was hit in the abdomen. She staggered into her back garden, clutching her phone, trying to call for help. When paramedics arrived, she was gone. Her last call never connected. Police would later confirm Ashley wasn't the intended victim. The bullet was meant for her boyfriend, Lee Harrison, linked to a long-standing gang feud. Ashley was simply home when revenge came knocking. They called it a mistaken hit, but there was nothing mistaken about the message it sent. In Liverpool's shadow wars, innocence is not protection. Her death shook the city, not because she was the first to die, but because she represented everything Liverpool was trying to save. Just 2 weeks later, the city woke to another horror. 9-year-old Olivia Pratt-Korbel, bright, funny, and endlessly curious, was at home in Dovecot when violence tore through her front door. It was August 22nd, 2022. A man named Joseph Nee was being chased by gunman Thomas Cashman. Nee tried to escape, bursting through Olivia's front door. Her mother, Cheryl, screamed, trying to shut it. The gunman fired. The bullet tore through Cheryl's wrist and into Olivia's chest. Olivia died where she should have been safest, her own home. When the story broke, it didn't just make headlines, it broke hearts. Two innocent lives, two senseless murders, in the same city weeks apart. Both victims caught in the crossfire of men who valued pride over people. Liverpool demanded answers, and what it got instead was a revelation that the two cases, though separate, told the same story of gang violence, silence, and lives destroyed by bullets never meant for them. Detectives moved fast. They gathered CCTV, tracked phone signals, searched cars and bins. Forensic teams combed through homes and drains. It was one of Merseyside's largest investigations in years. In Ashley's case, the killer was James Witham, a hitman hired to send a message. He admitted firing the machine gun that killed her, claiming he only wanted to scare. But there was nothing accidental about his actions. He had broken into her home, stepped through her hallway, and fired blindly. Witham and his accomplices were convicted in 2023, 5 men in total. They showed no emotion as the verdicts were read. In Olivia's case, the name Thomas Cashman became infamous, a small-time drug dealer who carried out an ambush that went catastrophically wrong. Cashman denied everything, until the evidence stacked too high. DNA, phone data, witness testimony, the walls closed in. The jury found him guilty, life without parole. He will never walk free again. But for many, the relief was hollow, because in both cases, justice arrived too late. 2 funerals had already passed, 2 families already broken. Liverpool has long been a city of heart and resilience. It's seen hardship before, from riots to recessions. But these 2 murders felt different. They cut deep because they weren't about drugs or gangland codes anymore. They were about everyday people, women and children, dying in places they should have felt safe. In the weeks that followed, the city united. People marched, held vigils, and demanded action. Churches opened their doors. Strangers hugged in the streets. Ashley Dale's mother stood before the press and said, "We will never stop fighting for justice." She was everything good in this world. And Cheryl Korbel, Olivia's mother, faced the killer in court and told him, "You tried to silence my child, but her voice will echo forever." They were more than victims. They became symbols, not of tragedy, but of defiance. of a city that refused to accept that this was normal. But behind the scenes, something else was unfolding, something darker. Police sources began to notice patterns, connections between rival crews, overlapping phone numbers, and shared weapons caches. The gun that killed Ashley was traced back to earlier shootings. The same supply network tied to the drug routes running through Liverpool, Manchester, and North Wales. It wasn't just random violence, it was a business. And for years it had been operating in silence. Detectives suspect that the same ecosystem of dealers and runners that supplied Cashman also supplied Witham's network. Different crews, same pipeline. The same people arming both sides of Liverpool's invisible war. But here's where the story takes a darker turn. Some of those weapons, and even messages between suspects, were discovered only after the trials had ended. Evidence that could link the two murders through a third hidden player. A man known only by one street name, never arrested, never charged, believed to have financed both operations. Was he the missing piece, or just another ghost in a city haunted by guns? In 2024, journalists began digging deeper. Whispers of police informants, cover-ups, and missing evidence began to surface. A Channel 4 investigation hinted that the two cases might not be as separate as once thought. Court documents revealed that both killers were linked indirectly to a single firearms source in Manchester. That source disappeared before police could question him. No trace, no body, no record of where he went. So were these two tragedies merely coincidence? Or were they part of a much larger web, one that reaches far beyond Liverpool's borders? The police won't comment. The families, still mourning, have stopped giving interviews. But one detective, speaking anonymously, told BBC reporters,
"What happened to Ashley and Olivia wasn't just bad luck. It was the fallout of something organized, something controlled. It's a statement that chills the blood. Because if true, it means both murders weren't isolated at all. They were symptoms of a deeper rot, one that still hasn't been cut out. 2 years on, Liverpool continues to heal. Gun violence has dropped slightly, but scars remain. The murals, the vigils, the memorials, they're reminders that peace comes at a cost. Ashley Dale's family still campaign against illegal firearms. Olivia's school raises funds for child safety charities. Their names live on, whispered in prayers, painted on walls, etched in hearts. But as journalists continue to trace the origins of the guns that killed them, new clues emerge, clues that suggest the story isn't finished. Some of the people involved are still out there, watching, waiting, and perhaps planning. In 2013, a woman in Texas was convicted for murder, except there was no evidence, no witnesses, and no body. It was called the most unusual conviction in modern American law. But here, in Liverpool, 2 people were murdered, and even with all the evidence, all the witnesses, all the bodies, the real story might still be hiding in plain sight. 2 homes turned into crime scenes, 2 families shattered forever. But as the trials ended and the killers were locked away, investigators began to notice something else. A pattern, connections that didn't add up, and one terrifying possibility, that the same network may have armed both murderers. The gun that killed Ashley Dale was traced to a Glock 19, illegally modified for automatic fire. The same model had appeared in at least 3 other shootings across the Northwest. None of those crimes were ever solved. Forensic analysts found microscopic similarities, identical rifling marks, the same brand of imported ammunition. That clue led investigators to one conclusion: the weapon came from a shared supply chain. 4 years earlier, a Manchester warehouse was raided by the National Crime Agency. Inside, dozens of handguns, silencers, and ammunition packed in cereal boxes. One of those weapons matched the same ballistic signature as Ashley Dale's murder weapon. But here's the twist. The man who ran that warehouse vanished before he could be charged. His name appeared in police reports under a single alias: Ghost, no real name, no records, no body. As detectives reopened the Ashley Dale file, they discovered encrypted messages recovered from one of the suspect's phones. The chats revealed a shadowy supplier known only by initials, KJ. That same handle appeared months later in Thomas Cashman's phone logs. The man who killed Olivia Pratt-Korbel. To the untrained eye, it looked like random chatter, but to investigators, tool meant weapon. The 2 killers
Witham and Cashman, never met. Different crews, different parts of Liverpool, but both got their weapons from the same underground pipeline, a ghost network stretching from Manchester to Merseyside. Each gun, each bullet, each silencer traded like currency by people who never touched the trigger but profited from the blood it spilled. And yet, when police tried to follow the trail, every witness went silent. By late 2023, both killers had been sentenced, but the question no one could answer remained: who supplied the guns? During the Ashley Dale trial, prosecutors introduced ballistic evidence linking her murder weapon to an earlier shooting in Speke, only a few streets from where Olivia lived. But that case too had gone cold. Then came a breakthrough. A journalist from The Guardian uncovered leaked case notes suggesting that both shootings had been facilitated by a shared arms network. The network's hub, a suspected arms dealer in Manchester, known by the codename Ghost. But Ghost didn't just disappear, he may have been protected. They knew who he was, they just couldn't touch him. Too many people would have fallen if he went down. What the source suggested was explosive, that Ghost wasn't just a criminal. He was an informant, an asset embedded within Liverpool's underworld, trading intel for immunity. And if true, it would mean the guns that killed Ashley Dale and Olivia Pratt-Korbel were indirectly supplied by someone working under the nose of law enforcement. The claim seemed too outrageous to believe until a document surfaced in late 2024. An internal report leaked from the National Crime Agency referenced a confidential informant linked to Merseyside firearm supply chains. The report was heavily redacted, but one sentence stood out: CI-42 remains active, location unknown. CO-42 is a number, not a name, but to those who knew the streets, it confirmed what many suspected. The network was still operating, the guns were still moving, and Ghost might still be alive. Meanwhile, Liverpool tried to heal. Memorials were built. Families clung to the idea of closure, but behind the scenes, detectives whispered the war wasn't over. In early 2025, a firearm seized in Birkenhead matched the same ballistic signature as the one that killed Ashley Dale, meaning someone had access to the same batch. 3 years later, either the weapons were never truly recovered, or someone within the system made sure they were never meant to be. For Ashley's mother, Julie, and Olivia's mother, Cheryl, the fight continues. They still campaign for stronger gun laws, community reform, and stricter sentencing, but behind every speech and interview lies a quieter pain, the fear that justice is incomplete. To them, justice isn't just about who pulled the trigger, it's about who put the gun there in the first place. And that's the question haunting Merseyside to this day. Who supplied the weapons that tore through 2 innocent lives? Who profits when justice ends at the gunman? And why? After all the trials, all the tears, all the promises, does the violence still return? The answers may still be buried in encrypted messages, sealed case files, and names whispered in fear. But one truth remains: Liverpool's battle with its hidden network is far from over. The deaths of Ashley Dale and Olivia Pratt-Korbel changed a city. They exposed the cracks in a system stretched too thin, a war fought in silence where the victims are too often innocent. For now, the killers are behind bars, but the network that armed them still hides in the shadows. Somewhere out there, Ghost, or whoever he was, may be watching the news, seeing the headlines, and knowing his hands built the chaos that followed. This is not the end of the story. It's the beginning of a deeper mystery, a system where power, fear, and silence walk hand in hand. The guns that killed Ashley Dale and Olivia Pratt-Korbel were traced to one of the largest illegal firearms networks ever uncovered in Britain. But when detectives tried to shut it down, their lead vanished. No arrest, no witness, no trace. In 2025, a firearm seized in Birkenhead carried the same microscopic barrel marks as the gun that ended Ashley Dale's life. It was supposed to have been destroyed. Instead, it reappeared in a car boot wrapped in tape beside 40,000 pounds in cash. The serial numbers were gone, but one clue remained: a Belgian proof mark, traced to a shipment imported legally and stolen 5 years earlier. It was the same route once used by a man known only as Ghost. British police believe the illegal gun trade begins long before a trigger's pulled. Old military stock from Eastern Europe, replicas converted to fire live rounds, blank pistols rebored in back rooms. Each weapon passes through a chain of hands, each taking a cut and erasing a clue until it lands in a British city. For years, one dealer controlled the northern route. Ghost, a man who spoke in code, never met clients twice, and moved stock like a ghost through customs. Payment in crypto. Delivery in rain, no names, just numbers. Some say he was killed. Others say he works for someone bigger. But one document suggests he never left Britain at all. Leaked intelligence from the National Crime Agency mentions a CI-42, a confidential informant embedded within arms networks. Multiple officers believe CI-42 is Ghost. If true, the very person fueling the gun trade was also feeding information to the state. And if he was protected, how many guns was Britain willing to ignore to keep him talking? He gave us intel on 10 minor jobs, but while we listened, he moved 50 guns under our nose. For families like Ashley's and Olivia's, that truth would be unbearable. That their killers were armed by a man the law once trusted. February 2025. An anonymous tip leads officers to a storage unit outside Manchester. Inside, ammunition crates, drug ledgers, and a single USB drive labeled 42. On it, encrypted files, delivery routes, crypto wallets, and a list of names. Several are already dead. One is a serving officer. Within days, the drive vanished from the evidence locker. Officially, it never existed. Unofficially, someone is still protecting the pipeline. Britain's illegal gun market remains small compared to the US, but its impact is devastating. Every illegal firearm is used in an average of 5 crimes before it's found. For Ashley and Olivia's families, the numbers mean little. They measure loss in birthdays missed, rooms left untouched. Until every gun is off our streets, none of us are safe. The dealer's trail doesn't end in Liverpool. It winds through ports, prisons, and police stations, a shadow economy thriving in plain sight. And somewhere within it all, Ghost is still out there, maybe under a new name, maybe still feeding the system that feeds him. The trail of one gun can tell the story of a nation, of policy and profit, of fear and failure, and until that trail ends, no verdict is ever final. Ashley Dale, Olivia Pratt-Korbel. Their names remind us that the fight against violence isn't won in courtrooms. It's won in the truth we're willing to face, no matter how ugly. For years, detectives chased a name that didn't exist, Ghost, a phantom arms dealer said to feed Britain's illegal gun trade and walk free while others fell. But sometimes ghosts aren't born, they're made. In April 2025, an anonymous man reached out to a production team working on the case. He said he used to move weapons for Ghost. He said he used to move weapons for Ghost. He said he could prove everything. I'm not proud of what I did. I was just a driver. But if I stay quiet, it keeps happening. He'd been a courier, ex-dock worker, part-time mechanic, father of 2. For 5 years, he ferried sealed packages between Manchester, Hull, and Liverpool. Inside those packages, guns. He says the orders came through encrypted messages. Drop points were never the same twice. Payment in crypto, always in advance. But one delivery changed everything. 2 weeks before Ashley Dale was killed, the driver delivered a crate marked garden equipment. The address, an abandoned garage in Old Swan. They told me it was for a robbery. I didn't ask. You never ask. When news broke of Ashley Dale's murder, he recognized the street. He quit the next day. But leaving a network built on fear is never simple. A month later, I found a bullet taped to my door. No note, just that when he finally spoke to reporters, he brought proof, delivery receipts, routing logs, and photos of the weapons before they vanished. His information led to 3 raids and the seizure of 12 firearms, but it also uncovered something worse, evidence that Ghost was still active and protected by someone inside law enforcement. We flagged the intel up the chain. It disappeared. Next day, we were told to stand down. According to internal emails, CI-42, the agency's informant, was still operational. The driver believes CI-42 is Ghost. The government won't confirm it. In a final recording before he went into protective custody, the whistleblower left a message for the families of Ashley and Olivia. You deserve to know the truth. None of this was accident. It was a system.
and we were all parts of it. The statement sparked a parliamentary inquiry into how informants are handled within the National Crime Agency. So far, no public results. But off record, an MP told the press, if the allegations are true, it's not just one criminal network. It's a failure of oversight that cost 2 innocent lives. Meanwhile, in Liverpool, murals of Ashley and Olivia look down on streets that they still struggle to forget. The whistleblower's whereabouts are unknown. Some say he was relocated under new identity. Others believe he never left the country. As for Ghost, no arrest, no charges, no body. But after our investigation aired, the encrypted channels he once used went dark. Maybe he vanished. Maybe he was never real, just a mask for many faces. But the truth is simple. As long as there is demand for guns, someone will supply them. And somewhere in that chain, there will always be another Ghost, Ashley Dale, Olivia Pratt-Korbel. Their names began this journey, a trail through grief, corruption, and silence. It ends with a single truth. Justice isn't a verdict, it's a promise we have to keep.